Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In Muharram, we often experience many types of rituals to remember Imam Husayn alayhi salam and his companions. And they can take many forms. One of them is attending or listening to majlises. The other is doing matam. And you could also donate blood during Ashura. That's what some people do. There's many ways that people remember Imam Husayn and his sacrifice. They remember him when they drink cold water to remember his thirst. And they remember him when doing du'as and all of his sacrifices as well. Today we're going to be talking about one ritual or one way of remembering Imam Husayn alayhi salam and his companions and his family that the Imams have always recommended us to do. Whether it's a happy time or it's a sad time, this particular way of remembering the Imams has been always encouraged by all the Imams that followed after that. And that method is the Ziyarah. Ziyarah is a very good means to get closer to Allah, and we'll talk a bit about how we can actually get close to Allah through Ziyarah. But before we do that, we might just recap what we studied or what we talked about previously. And if you remember, the topic was about Salat or Namaz and how it related to the companions of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. And in there was a story about one companion who said in the night of Ashura, if it's possible to die once, come alive and die again, then we, all of the companions of Imam Husayn, are prepared to die 1,000 such deaths to save Imam Husayn and his families from the enemies. Now, who was that companion? Name starts with Z. Zuhair ibn Qaym. May Allah bless him. And there was another companion who was martyred or was shaheed while defending Imam Husayn when he was praying. Do you remember his name? If you can tell me that. Starts with S. Yeah, so the answer is Sa'id ibn Abdullah, may Allah bless him as well, who died while defending Imam Husayn while he was praying. And prayer is one of the wajib acts, and we'll talk about one of the mustahab acts today, which is Ziyarah. So I've got a picture here of the center. And in here, obviously, they're doing Ziyarat here. And you can tell by how they're standing straight. And also, if you notice, all of them have got their elbows, you can't see anything, you can't see their hands, you can only see their elbows. So they're doing something with their hands. And if you remember closely, because this picture was taken before the lockdowns, and inshallah we get rid of them. Rid of lockdowns very soon, but when people are standing for Ziyarah, they usually either stand pointing to the front, or they stand with their hands in a respectable way in front of them. But either way, most of the people here don't have the elbows. You can't see them from behind, from the elbows. I don't have a picture from the front, and we'll talk about it all. And I also want you to notice there's a picture right on the top of the white banner, and that picture is of the orange and brown picture as well. And I want to draw your attention to that. So many people, and including me, when I was not that aware of what Ziyarat does, I didn't really know what Ziyarat meant. It was just a time where after Majlis ended, after the Noha finished, then you would stand and say Assalamu alaikum Imam Husayn, and then you sort of just finish the majlis at that point. But ziyarat is so much more than that, and I want to take you through a few reasons behind that today, so that next time when you're doing a ziyarah, you're just not waiting for it to be finished. You're actually reflecting on the words and thinking about the words and thinking, wow, the ziyarah, it really makes me very close to the Imam. So here, this is the ziyarah that we do. But actually the ziyarah that Imam recommended is something in the next page. So if you remember this picture, the small picture on the orange picture, if I zoom it out and I look at, under the banner, if you just, that's actually looking at the Zari of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. And the reward of the ziyarat of Imam Husayn is so high. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq has said, on the day of judgment, everyone will wish that they were the ones who had gone to the ziyarat of Imam Husayn, because they see the way in which the visitors of Husayn are honored and treated by Allah. So really the ziyarat that we do, they will say, oh, Assalamu alaikum ya Imam Husayn, ya Aba Abdullah, or it's saying, oh, Assalamu alaikum to Imams and the Prophet and Bibi Fatima. This is one ziyarat, but obviously what we want to do, like in our heart, our intention is that we actually want to visit, because that's what ziyarat means. Ziyarat means visiting. It doesn't mean saying salam. So ziyarah is about visiting the actual haram or the shrine of the Imams, and where they're resting, where their bodies are resting, and actually go visit them. And that is the ziyarah that we pray for, and if we had a chance we would do more often. But what we do is because we're not close to Imam Husayn. But fear not, because we're so far away from Imams. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq has said that you can even do ziyarat if you are not close to us. So if you're very far from us, in this particular narration that the Imam said, he's saying that climb to the highest place of your house, perform 2 rakah salat, and point towards our grave and say salam to us. For surely it will reach us. So inshallah, that is why you might see people pointing, because it's in a narration. So, but you can also stand respectfully, and you can, as long as you're being respectful, and you're imagining that the shrine of the Imam is in front of you. How would you act there? So in this picture you can see that people, even though they're very, very close to the shrine, they're standing very respectfully towards the shrine, and most of them, even there, they've got their elbows kind of turned, because they're standing very respectfully and saying their salams or mentioning all the du'as that they have, that they want to ask from Allah on the behest of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. So that is a brief sort of story about, ziyarat means visiting the Imams, and you can also visit the Imams through being far away as well. So why do we do ziyarat? Why is this such an important part, that every time in Eid or in Muharram or any event, there's always this emphasis on doing ziyarat of Imam Husayn and also other Imams as well, and our current Imam Mahdi. And think about it this way, do you visit, do you like to visit relatives like your grandparents or your cousins? And visit, you can substitute the word visit for ziyarah. Do you like to do the ziyarah? And how about visiting your friends? Well, if you're normal, then you would say, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to visit my family, my cousins, my friends, because you love them and you enjoy spending time with them. You feel, even though you might not do much while you're there, just being with them makes you feel very content and very happy, and And when you're hanging out, you might not be doing much, but the fact that you're conversing with your friend or with your cousins, with your grandparents, that is something that gives you peace. And also when they treat you nicely, they give you love and you give them love. That's all part of that whole idea about doing ziyarat or visiting them. And conversely, do you visit strangers in their homes? And the only time that I can think of visiting strangers is probably, well, Halloween. And even then, I know kids that, they prefer the chocolates to be outside, because they don't want to deal with strangers, because who knows, whether they'll treat you nicely or not. And especially strangers that are not your neighbors, that you think don't like you, you don't want to visit them most of the time. But for your neighbors, you always should be always kind and friendly to them. So that's the whole reason you do ziyarat, because you love someone and you feel, and through that love, you build that connection. And I've got a flow chart here about how when you perform the ziyarat, you know more about the Imams, you start to admire them, and then you follow them, and then you be better Muslims. So that's all very interesting, but I want to give you some practical examples of that from the ziyarat that we do recite. So one of the ziyarat that we recite is called Ziyarat Wanitha. When do we recite that? When do we recite Ziyarat Wanitha? That's not a question, I have one there, but if you can give me an answer to that. How often? When do you usually recite Ziyarat Wanitha? So we recite it during every Thursday nights usually, right? And it goes like this: Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam Safwatillah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuhin Nabiyillah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim Khalilillah. It has the word waritha all the time, which means inherited. And again, I recited this ziyarat a lot of times, and I thought, okay, we're just saying the Prophet's name, and we're saying Waritha Nuh, Waritha Ibrahim, Waritha Isa. And the way to think about this ziyarah is to think about it in a way that Imam Husayn alayhi salam, his personality is so, and what he did is so like huge. And that personality, Imam Husayn alayhi salam, is not like a normal person. He, out of all the humans, out of all the people who've ever been martyred, he's the Sayyid, he's the best of them. And in Jannah, inshallah, when we go, he's the leader of everyone who will be in paradise. So we are dealing with the one who's the master of all of these people in heaven, inshallah, as well. We're dealing with someone who's all of that. So I remember, and there's many stories that have this concept as well. So Imam Husayn alayhi salam, he is inheriting all of the good things from all of the prophets. And the prophets are the most chosen, best people that have ever lived. And Imam Ali as well, and Bibi Fatima as well, all of those best characteristics are in Imam Husayn alayhi salam. So in stories like Harry Potter, for example, he inherits invisibility cloak, he gets the best wand, he gets the he gets something else as well, the stone of bringing people to life, and through this he's able to get the powers to have a chance to defeat Voldemort. I won't give you the ending, but that's one of the things, right? He inherits all of them, and that's the only way that he does it. You have other stories like the Avatar, Avengers, and many other stories where they're collecting all of these characteristics, all of these precious things, and the only way the hero can defeat evil is through making sure that they've got all of those characteristics in them. Imam Husayn alayhi salam, the work he did was so important and so instrumental that Allah gave him Allah gave him characteristics from Adam, from Nuh, from Ibrahim, from Isa, from Prophet Muhammad, from Imam Ali, from Bibi Fatima, from Imam Hassan, all of these best characteristics, and all at a time where he was the only one who could save the Islam that we have today. That is Ziyarat Wanitha, right? So when you listen to Ziyarat Wanitha next time, remember that, don't think about super sign or anything. Think about Imam Husayn and his personality, that he combined all of these attributes and saved Islam. And that's why we should respect and try to follow them. And then there's another Ziyarat that I want to go through. It's called Ziyarat Ashura. And Ziyarat Ashura, you say, "Oh Allah, make me live the life of Prophet Muhammad and the family of Muhammad, and give me the life of, and give me the death of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad." And you also say that, "Oh Allah, to you belongs the praise of those who are thankful to you for their hard times, for their tribulations." So Imam Husayn alayhi salam, when he went through all of the hard times in the day of Karbala, he always said, I am satisfied, Allah, that I am satisfied at your decree, at what you want." After Ali Asghar, his 6-month-old baby, was shaheed in front of him, after seeing his daughter Sakina or Ruqayya thirsty, out of all of those things, Imam said, "Look, I am risen, I am satisfied at the decree of Allah, at what Allah wants." This is what we want to learn from Imam. And Imam, through the Ziyarat of Ashura, when we recite it, we say, look, we learn to be thankful even during hard times, because this is very difficult. And we learn that from Imam Husayn. If Imam Husayn can do that, I can be thankful if, for example, that I didn't get A in my test instead of a B, and next time I can work hard of it. And that is what we need to do from Imam Husayn and learn from him. So I have a short activity for you guys, and this is about Ziyarat Wanitha. So what is the reason behind the name Ziyarat Wanitha? Is it A, Imam Husayn is a friend of Anbiya; 2, he is the inheritor of Anbiya and other personalities; C, because it is recited on Thursday nights; and D, it was given the name by Imam Ja'far Sadiq. And the answer, as we talked about it, Waritha means inheritor, so it's B, it's the inheritor. The next question is, what does Ziyarat Ashura remind us of? So does it remind us of the event of Karbala, the personalities who dedicated their life in the way of Allah, the personalities who followed their desires, or the promise of Qadir? What did we talk about in terms of Ziyarat Ashura? Whose personalities? The personalities of those who dedicated their life in the way of Allah. So the answer is B. Okay, so one more thing that I want to touch on is that when we go to Ziyarah, we often, when we do it, we just recite the book, right? And we already talked about how in Ziyarah, we have, the real Ziyarah is the one that we actually go and physically visit the graves. And the second, and because we can't do that, we try to do Ziyarah from wherever we are, in the center or somewhere else. So we try to do the Ziyarah from there. But even the way the Ziyarats are structured are the way how you would do if you were actually visiting in person. So next time I want you to open a book of Ziyarat Wanitha, the one that has a complete version, and I want you to look at the order in which you say salam. And you'll see that you'll say salam to Imam Husayn, and then you'll say salam to Ali Akbar, and then the companions, and then Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. So you'll see that order. And here you can see, this is an old picture, but you can see that they've got Imam Husayn alayhi salam and his shrine, and you can see this little corner, and that's where Hazrat Ali Akbar and Hazrat Ali Asghar are with Imam Husayn. So they're in the corner, but they're in the same shrine, as Imam Husayn. The companions are in a different shrine, but just next to them. And that area is called Ganj Shahada. This is a different area that is where Imam Zainul Abidin, when he came and he helped the tribe of Bani Asad bury all of them, he said they can go into a single, a single area. Because if you're a martyr, if you're a shaheed, then you don't need a coffin or anything. So you can lay them all, together because of the high status that they have. So that is how it looks like. And then if you zoom out a bit, so all of these companions, Imam was saying, are there. And then Hazrat Abbas has his own shrine. And you might have heard that story why Hazrat Abbas has its own shrine. Because when Hazrat Abbas was he was shaheed in the middle of getting water from Furat, and Furat was a long way back. And when Hazrat Zainul Abidin, he was told, there is this, Imam Zainul Abidin was told about Hazrat Abbas' place. He was not with the rest of the companions, and he was buried. He was laid to rest, at where he fell. And inshallah, we all get the experience of visiting Imam Husayn, Hazrat Ali Akbar, his companions, and Hazrat Abbas. And the area between them, between the two shrines, is called Bainul Haramain. It means, in Arabic, it means between the two harams, the two shrines of Hazrat Abbas and Imam Husayn. And visualizing, and next time when you are reciting the Ziyarat, just visualize in your mind the haram of Imam Husayn alayhi salam and Hazrat Ali Akbar and Hazrat Ali Asghar next to them. Visualize the time when Imam Zainul Abidin was there with the tribe of Asad who lived near Karbala, and Imam Zainul Abidin was telling them who each person is and what, according to his Imam divine knowledge, where everyone should be placed and buried and laid to rest. And then, of course, their heads were taken all the way to Kufa and Sham, and their heads were later came to where they're resting at this point as well. So the other thing is to remember the messages in Ziyarat. In Ziyarat, all of the words that are in the Ziyarat are taught to us by our various Imams, by Imam Jafar Sadiq mainly, but also other Imams as well. And these are very important things for us because they teach us to be the kind of Shias that our Imam wants us, and they allow us to get into a state where we want to follow our Imams and all of that, and Ziyarat Wanitha and all of that. They want us to remember that Imam Husayn alayhi salam was a great personality. He was not someone who just went out for power or to get to fight a war. Imam alayhi salam was there to defend and revive the religion of the Prophet alayhi salam, and he is someone who we love very, very dearly. So that is what I want you to think about every time you are in a ziyarat, rather than thinking about food or thinking about, I'm glad it's ending. Think about the words and think about the meaning behind them, inshallah. and Allah will always reward you for that. There are many rewards, as we talked about in terms of ziyarat, and Allah will make sure that your ziyarat, and Imam Husayn will make sure that your ziyarat is qabul if you recite it with a sincere heart, knowing the love that you have for Imam Husayn alayhi salam. And with that, I will end and leave you with wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.